Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet some of you and see some familiar faces. That's always the best part. We are going to spend the next 15 to 20 minutes talking about our time management course. So this is not the full-length course. This is a summary of the class. So there are some exercises that I will refer to that we aren't going to complete today. But if you do have any questions, feel free to stop and ask me. So our agenda, again, for the full-length course are the items up here. We talk about our guidelines, motivation, SMART goals. If you're not familiar with SMART goals, it's the specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound format for goals. And the most current version now are SMARTer goals. The ER stands for evaluated and revised. I don't like to focus on that because I feel like it gives us permission to not spend as much time and effort on the actual SMART goals if we know that we can then evaluate and revise them. So I stick with the original SMART version. I think we tend to take that more seriously. We also talk about scheduling, focusing on our tasks. The biggest problem with time management is procrastination. Many of us, myself included, have this as a big weakness. So that will definitely impact and impair our ability to effectively manage our time. That's one of the many habits that we have. That's a negative habit. We also focus on positive habits, and we conclude the course by doing a debriefing and a feedback session. So again, this is the agenda for the full-length course. So motivation is key to time management. How effectively do you complete a task when you don't want to do it? I don't want to do this. I don't like this. So I'm going to give it my all and get it done fast. Not quite? Sometimes. Well, I'm going to give it my all and be done with it and never focus on it again. But we do find that with that positive motivation, that enthusiasm, that type of demeanor that we bring to the table, we will finish more quickly and we will finish more effectively. So we will be more satisfied with our results when we have that motivation. Make sense? All right. So again, our SMART goals, I like the original. If you want, you can add on to the bottom of the slide, ER, evaluated and revised. There is something to be said for evaluation. It's how we really know for sure if we've accomplished what we set out to accomplish. Right? If we don't double check, we don't know that we really did what we were supposed to or what we intended to do. So what are some of the steps we can take to managing our time? Write it down. Start with your overall goal. So the pie in the sky version of your goal. Then organize and prioritize. So what that means is take that huge goal and break it down into smaller milestones. I say milestones instead of deliverables because you can celebrate a milestone. We find that those celebrations keep us more positively moving, right? This is a quadrant. Is anyone familiar with the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? Okay, so it's a great book. It does need a little bit more updating because it was written before we had email. Now, what is email as it relates to time management?
A big void. It's like a black hole.
Yes, that's exactly what it is, because you could just get lost in email, right? And everybody wants you to read their email right away. Now they even write subjects. Read me. Urgent.
Should.
Answer me. Should. Read me. Could you just answer, what about I am? Ooh, especially in the workplace, right? Like, hey, can I just ask you a quick question? All right, starting with, are you there? Are you there? Can I ask you a quick question?
No.
And then depending on the workplace rules, they'll stop by, and then what? I'd rather get the I am than the drop by, because the drop by is much harder to manage than the I am. And depending on your workplace policies, you may or may not be able to put yourself as unavailable. And I'm an HR person by trade, so they don't like when we do unavailable in case it is a legitimate emergency or hazard or some kind of concern.
What do you mean by I am?
Instant message. So they're Skyping you. Skype for Business will give you that tool. Some companies are still using Google Hangouts. But they just pop up on your screen like, hey, are you there? Which is the new version of walking by. So if you think you're working from home or working remotely or working in another office, right. Oh, or I just sent you an email. Did you see my email that I just sent you? Yes. Yes. This is real. This is real. Hey, just wanted to check. Did you see my email? You're right.
I've gotten the email, IM, and phone call right back to back.
I figured I'd call you. Yes. So how do we sort through all that, right? Because everybody wants you to read their email, answer their message, and help them with their questions. So we have this quadrant. Again, it came from that book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And it helps you distinguish between what's urgent or not urgent compared to what's important or not important. Now, where you will get jammed up is if your boss has a question that you must answer immediately that is really not very important. You need to answer it, right? Because it's your boss. So sometimes by virtue of the hierarchy, different things are going to end up in different places within this hierarchy. So if you do have a good relationship with those that you report to, you might be able to set up one-on-ones or say, I'm so sorry, but I'm stuck on something else right now. Can we circle back on this at another time? But the quadrant is very helpful in making us really focus on what are the things that take up my time. So you could start by doing a tally, the dreaded war report, weekly activity reports, which are big in sales roles, but really anybody can put together a report. What did you spend your time doing? And then divvy up those tasks into this quadrant. So the things that are not urgent and not important really should get sidelined. You should be focusing on those urgent, important tasks. Make sense? So this is a tool really to help us look at it. In the full-length course, we do actually have that quadrant filled in with specific examples. So email is in that not urgent, not important category, the IMs, things like that. But we do have our matrix musts. So again, listing everything out, assigning where they belong within those categories, and then evaluating, taking a real good look at it. I recommend if you do have either a teammate or your boss who can sit with you and really look at these items, it's good to have their feedback as well. Maybe something is important and you're just not aware of what that reason could be, but when you have that conversation, you're able to reassign it. It could also highlight for others where you're spending your time that they don't realize is such a time drain. So again, going back to those emails, those IMs, if you're sharing feedback like I can't open my laptop in the morning and get started with a project because 6 IMs come in, maybe that speaks to the workplace rules, the workplace procedures, even staffing, because there's someone else who should be performing those tasks and completing those objectives. Okay, so how important is it? Urgent versus important. So again, this comes down to most often who is making the request. So throw out an example of what's legitimately important.
Constant for me, problem solving with the system.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Where they can't get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they got to leave and they can't leave until they're approved.
That's a problem.
And it becomes urgent.
Mm-hmm.
And could they be self-sufficient? They can.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not.
So then that speaks to here's constant time management issue, and then that might highlight an area of training, a training need. So it might be worth the time investment, maybe even the financial investment if you have to make it, to have training made available so that people can become self-sufficient and complete their tasks and leave and not get stuck there. What if you are training?
Yes, and it's because they learned it, but they're not going to the resources that they need to do, even through their supervision,
Mm-hmm.
still calling.
I would make this recommendation then that you ask the person to show you. Okay, so I'm going to take you through ABC, how to get this completed. Okay, that's good. You got it. Great. Okay, let's log out and log back in. You show me how to do it. Sometimes that extra doing step is what makes it stick.
Sometimes it's just stuff they've done that really throw you off and you can't get there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know?
I think it's worth, so again, the first step is to have them show you how to do it. And then as a second step, sometimes put together a list of instructions. So instead of you being the doer, you're the sharer. So follow these steps. After you follow these steps, reach out to me if you're still having trouble. You could put them together once and reuse them for multiple audience members if it's the same kind of request.
We do have that. We do have that set up. We have what we call our encyclopedia for everything. And it's the resource on where they have to go find things. The issue is they don't take the time. And we have other classes that are constantly in their curriculum to come to. But it's a constant roll of errors that they can't provide themselves to be self-sufficient.
So people who are not self-sufficient, who are then becoming a drain on your time, you may want to explore whether or not it's an opportunity for discipline. So that becomes a business decision. How much time and effort are we going to invest in what I call concierge service? Can you get me a reservation? So how much time do we, some businesses are okay with that. There are some roles where the employees are very skilled at a hands-on job, but are not able to use the electronic tools available to them. Some organizations do make that choice. We will provide this extra level of support because they're so skilled at what they do that we don't see the value in making them spend their time doing that. So we will provide a resource to them. So that's also a business decision to explore. So here we have our filled out quadrant. So some fun things on the bottom there, social phone calls. Who has time for social phone calls at work anymore, right? They can't get through to you, not with all the IMs, the phone calls, and the emails that your colleagues are sending you. But the escaping, sometimes you just need a minute, right? Unfortunately, we don't get that time back. So scheduling it, start with your absolutes. These are things that will come out of spending time with that quadrant. You'll come away with your absolutes, your high priorities, your essentials. Those are usually coming from your boss or just the needs of your role. You know what needs to be completed as urgent as part of your role. Contingencies and discretionaries. So discretionaries are usually the ones that kind of go to the wayside, but the contingencies are the things that kind of take third priority. Okay, so your action program. This is we borrowed this really from the project management world. Project managers are very skilled at managing their time, their resources, and moving a project along. So some of the things that they do to help make that happen is always focus on the next action. What are we doing next? It'll come out of a project catalog. So they spend a lot of time in the beginning focusing on what's every single thing we need to accomplish. What are all the milestones? What are all the objectives? What are all the pieces to the puzzle? So they've got their wide catalog available. They're working on their next action steps and the delegated actions. So here are the things that I'm responsible for. Here's what I'm delegating, and who is that delegated to? And following up with that person. Does that make sense? Delegation is key here. A lot of people don't like to delegate. It's really important to delegate. You cannot, it's how people learn. Yes, so number one, you cannot do everything. Number two, by trying to do everything, you are robbing others of their opportunity to learn. So think of it that way. If you have a hard time letting go, think of it as you're giving someone an opportunity. It'll make you feel better. So focusing, again, prioritizing one task at a time. The idea of multitasking, it really depends, but it's a great way to mess up something pretty badly. The Pomodoro technique is something that we spend more time on in class, but it's basically the idea of I'm going to spend X amount of time working on a project, and then I'm going to spend 5 minutes doing nothing. And then I will be refreshed, and I'll go back to that task again. It's not popular. Employers don't like the idea of time spent doing nothing. But nonetheless, it is a technique. Switching between high and low, what this means is if you've got some really, really tough objectives, but you also have some of the minutia that needs to get done, spend some time working on the really, really hard stuff, and then complete the lower level tasks. So that's the new version of the time spent doing nothing. you're still doing something. Set aside the time, take short breaks, stay hydrated. We don't give us enough attention to hydration. It's very important. Staying focused, doing the tough items when you're most alert. Some people are morning people, some people are night people. Figure out what you are and set aside that time to do the most important work. Hydration, eating, stop procrastinating. So find your own reward method. Figure out how you can stay motivated. Again, in the full-length class, we have a lot of handouts, so you see exactly where you rank as a procrastinator. We spend more time looking at motivation and things like that, so you do take away some customized information. Work out the cost of your time. So anybody who spends time at home taking care of kids, we know exactly how much our time is worth. Everybody should do that, right? Why does procrastination happen? We're not organized, we don't like it, we're overwhelmed, we might be a perfectionist, underdeveloped decision-making skills, everything is coming at me at once, I need to do all of it. Interruptions we've spent a lot of time on already, multitasking we spoke about, but conversations, got to be careful with conversations, don't eliminate them all. You do need to have a little bit of, I don't want to say social life, but you do need to have that socialization at work. It's how you build influence, and it's how you're able to persuade others. If you completely shut down that social aspect, you will actually become less effective. So that one's about balance. These are the things to manage group meetings. That's rough. Now we have meetings about meetings. Why are we having so many meetings? I don't know. Are you available for a minute? Multitasking, I spoke about this. Are there any real strong believers here in multitasking? I can do a bunch of different things at once, and I can do them great.
It's what we were taught for many, many years.
Yeah.
Different places we worked, and now it's trying to get to that one task.
It's a lot.
I have the hardest time doing that. It's very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
There's too many things that have to get done in one day.
That's right. So it's about changing habits. Start simple, commit to 30 days, and make it daily. So start simple means don't think of every single thing you want to change. Pick one or two things to change. Focus on it for 30 days. After you've done it for 30 days, where you're really making it a point to remember what you're doing, it should start coming naturally. You can use a buddy system, find a role model. Those are things that will help keep you moving. And then the debrief at the end of our session, we talk about what are the 3 most valuable takeaways, what are the 3 things that you plan to do differently. That's how we make it tangible. So at the end of the class, people feel like they really do have these items that they can take away and learn from. We will not finish time management late. So for the next minute, right? If we can't finish the class on time management, don't take the class. So we do have 1 minute for questions. Questions? They're like, you can ask one question. It's okay. Nothing. All right. Question.
So this would be, it would be tailored towards industries such as healthcare.
Yes.
We get feedback from our nurses in the hospital that the nurses need time management.
Mm-hmm.
They have X amount of patients, everything's on a computer, and they have to spend time with the patients, and they're the ones having a lot of trouble with time management.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to tailor some of that to what their needs are, because they're not getting email coming in and all those things. A little different.
We could tailor this. They could be getting paged overhead. They could be getting called into their station. Those things could be happening. Somebody else could be running late. We could definitely tailor this. I was at an ASC, so ambulatory surgery center. I feel confident this could be tailored for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How do you assess the difference between managing time effectively and I just have too much work? Because if you talk to anyone, all the nurses in our organization or staff, there's just like, well, we just need more people. It's not about time management.
Sometimes with nursing, compared to case acuity, they might be right.
Right.
So that goes back to, and we would tailor this, so not necessarily doing the project management piece of it, but looking more at your cases, your case volume, your case acuity, and things like that. It's possible that the nurses are right, and you've got state regs to work within, so you can't just cut staffing, you can't just skip breaks, right? You can't do those things. So in the healthcare world, I would recommend a different approach to looking at everything and keeping an open mind that perhaps they are correct.
And there's a way to assess that.
You would do that through looking at your case acuity. So that should be in your outpatient, but you'd still have your case volume for the day and things like that. Somebody has it. Medical records should have it, how many came in on a particular day. You're welcome.